Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with the start of another weekly reading vlog. This is for week number 30 and this is July the 25th through July the 31st. So this is going to end off the month of July, the final week of July, you guys. Can you believe this month is over pretty much? I can't believe it. So today is not the 25th, it is the 26th of July. It is Tuesday. And it is about 3:45 in the afternoon. So I had to go into the office this morning. I am home now and I have about 15 minutes here just to have a quick chat with you before I have to get back to work for the rest of the afternoon. So yeah, I legitimately thought I started the vlog yesterday because I filmed a couple of videos yesterday morning that will have already gone up. Like they were the videos that were going up this week. And I honestly thought I started this vlog, and then I edited one of the videos this morning and I realized when I transferred the files from my phone to my laptop that I didn't in fact. So here we are. So as I like to say in these vlogs, if you guys are just here to hear about the books that I read, please feel free to use the timestamps in the description box below to jump ahead to any of the book reviews that I have to share with you. So I'm looking forward to a good reading week. There is a long weekend this weekend. This will partially go into next week because August the 1st is a civic holiday here. So it's not a statutory holiday. Not everyone has it off, but a good number of people do. So yay, my office is one of them. So I have a 3-day weekend coming up. And yeah, so reading-wise, how are we doing reading-wise, you guys? Well, since my last vlog ended, I have finished 2 books. So I'm here to share with you the 2 books that I finished, and then I'm going to share with you what I'm currently reading, and we'll go from there. So the first book that I finished yesterday was When Love Dies by Francine Pascal. This is the 12th book in the Sweet Valley High series, and I gave this 3.5 stars. I don't have a ton to say about this one. So Stephen, who is Jessica and Elizabeth's older brother, is dating this girl named Teresa, who's from like the wrong side of the tracks. It's the world of Sweet Valley people. Like, need I say more? You know, her father's an alcoholic. Her mother died when she was younger. She has a younger sister, or an older sister, who's a bit wild and fancy free, if you will. But Stephen's been dating her. Jessica doesn't like the fact because she is from the wrong kind of family. And she wants to hook Stephen up with her best friend, Kara. And anyway, Teresa starts to become, like, this is stuff that kind of started to happen in the last book, that Teresa's being very secretive, and she's breaking off dates with Stephen, and they don't know why. And it turns out, spoiler alert, in this book, she has leukemia, and she is dying. She doesn't die at the end of this book, and I'm not making light of that at all, but she does, I think, succumb to the cancer in a later book. I can't remember off the top of my head. So anyway, that is what this one is about. And, you know, it's kind of trying to, like, Elizabeth finds out what's actually happening with Teresa and is like, maybe you should tell Stephen. And it was a good book. I enjoyed it. I mean, in terms of Sweet Valley, it was one of the more mature Sweet Valley books, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, I liked it. It took me like a day and a bit to read. I could have probably finished it in an hour and a half if I just sat and read it, but I enjoyed it, so 3.5 stars. So the other book I finished this morning while I was I was up pretty early and I decided to do a little knitting before I actually had to start getting ready for work. So I made a cup of coffee, did some knitting, and I finished my audiobook. And I finished listening to Always Be My Duchess by Amalie, I think it's Amalie Howard. I'm trying to remember exactly how it was said in the audio, but I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. So I ended up giving this book 4 stars, but to be completely honest, if I was rating the book just on its own, it would probably be more of a 3.5 star. I know it's not a huge difference between 3.5 and 4, but it would probably be more towards a 3.5 star if I was rating the book as it was. I gave it an extra 0.5 star because of the pretty woman aspect to it. So I talked about this book quite a bit in my last vlog. So this is a Regency retelling of Pretty Woman, the 1980s movie with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. So the thing is, I'm not too sure how many younger Regency romance readers are going to get a lot of the references that are in this book and are going to understand what it's trying to play off of without actually watching the movie. Like, you have to be a fan of the movie. A big fan, like, not a big fan, but you've had to have watched the movie more than once or twice, I would say, to really get some of the things that happen in here. And, I mean, the cover alone is, it's a complete, pretty much a Regency reproduction of the original movie poster. And, I mean, I was all for it. Pretty Woman is one of my favorite movies, and I absolutely, really, really thought that this was so charming and so well done. So, the plot of the story is about our main characters named Nev and Stone. His nickname is Stone. And he is a duke, and she's from a noble family. Like, I think her father was a viscount. But both of her parents ended up dying, and they pretty much spent the family fortune before they passed away. So her and her sister were left penniless. So they had danced when they were younger. It was just something that was, like, their mother made sure they had proper dance lessons and things like that. So in order to keep their heads above water and keep food on the table, they started dancing. Not anything untowards, like, very, like, classical ballet. Like, they were performers in ballet. And then something happens to the sister, which I'm not going to divulge, but one of the patrons of the ballet, he does hurt her pretty severely. And she's sick, and Nev is trying to make money so the sister can get better. So they lived in Paris. She's now in England, and she meets Stone by chance one night in a alleyway when she saves him from these ruffians who are trying to, like, rob him or something. So he proposes he needs her help. He's essentially trying to buy this plot of land or this building, and he needs to show the investor that he is a family man and he was going to get married and blah, blah, blah. So he hires her for one night to be, like, his, like, date, if you will, for this event. And then it turns into, then he hires her for the entire season to pretend to be his fiance, kind of an idea. So that's where the story goes. So there are a lot of, like, so right away, that is in a way the plot of Pretty Woman. If you've never seen Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts does play a prostitute, and Richard Gere picks her up and kind of hires her for the one night, not for necessarily what you're thinking, but to, like, be his date. And then they get along very well. He finds her very attractive, and it's like, okay, can I hire you to pretend to be my girlfriend? Blah, 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 blah. And then the relationship goes from there. So, like, the plots are very similar is what I'm trying to say. So there are some key scenes in this book that, again, if you were a big fan of the movie Pretty Woman, you will recognize. You know what I mean? So, like, early on, there is a scene that involves a piano. For those of you who saw Pretty Woman, there's a very, very sweet scene with him playing the piano and her, like, pretending or, like, helping him play or something like that. There's another scene that takes place at, like, a horse race that, in the movie, she's wearing the brown dress with the polka dots on it. Yeah, so, I mean, again, if you were a fan of the movie, you would really get a little bit extra out of this. However, if you took that aspect out of it, and it wasn't a retelling of that movie, it probably would have been a 3.5 star. It was an enjoyable Regency romance. It was spicy, and I liked the characters a lot, but it wouldn't have been overtly memorable on its own if it wasn't a retelling, if that makes sense. So yeah, so I did enjoy it. I do recommend that you check it out if you're a fan of Regency romances. So what am I currently reading? I did start last night For His Daughter's Sake by Stella Bagwell, which is the second book in the Montana Mavericks, The Real Cowboys of Bronco Heights series. This is another one for my Serious About Series challenge. I read the first book in the series last month, and I am excited about reading this book now. And then I am also this morning, so I'm only like 10% of the way through that book. I just literally started it last night. But when I finished reading Always Be My Duchess this morning, I still had some time before I had to start getting ready for work. I was up really early this morning. So I decided to start my next audiobook, which was Deadly Summer Nights by Vicki Delaney. This is the first book in the Catskills mystery series. It's a cozy mystery that takes place in 1953, in a resort in the Catskill Mountains. And speaking of being a retelling of a famous movie, this is not a retelling of a movie. However, when I think Catskills in the 1950s, the movie that comes to mind, of course, is Dirty Dancing. And in Dirty Dancing, the resort that they all went to is called Kellerman's. This is Hellerman's, the Hellerman's resort that our main character Elizabeth works at. It's her and her mom who run it. And there's been a dead body. Guys, this book, I've been listening to it pretty much all day so far, and I am absolutely in love with it. I am so charmed by this book. This is my first, I think, Vicki Delaney, which is like, she has written a bajillion cozy mysteries, and this is the first one by her that I've read, and I am loving it. I'm hoping to finish this later today, if not early tomorrow, so we shall see. But anyway, that's what I'm currently reading. So that's it for this clip, you guys. I will check in with all of you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Hi friends, happy Friday. Yeah, it's Friday. I've been a mess on these vlogs the last few weeks, and I do sincerely apologize for that. So I think what happened this week, like I didn't record Monday, because it was Monday, and on Tuesday I recorded, but it was like later in the afternoon. So on Wednesday, when I would normally sit down in the morning, I thought to myself, oh, don't bother, because you literally just did a vlog clip less than 12 hours ago, so that's kind of ridiculous. You're reading the same books. So I didn't record anything on Wednesday, and then yesterday, for some reason, yesterday was super busy at work. I think, like, it's been relatively quiet all week. We do have a long weekend this weekend here in Ontario. It's not a statutory holiday, it's a civic holiday. So it's the choice of the business, but pretty much every company I've ever worked for is closed. The bigger businesses, like offices, tend to be closed, but like if it's a Walmart, grocery store, fast food, those places are still open, right? So, excuse me. So that's what's open this weekend. And even though they're not supposed to be setting off fireworks, I guarantee you there will be fireworks going off this weekend as well, because that's just what happens. So it's been relatively quiet this week at work because we're coming up on a long weekend, but for some reason yesterday seemed to be really busy. So it's like that always happens. It's like one day out of the week. So that's fine. And then I have been wanting to update you guys because I finished a book, and finally today, it's Friday morning, I'm sitting down to talk to you guys. So, couple of things. Oh gosh, this might be a bit of a longer clip. So, I've had some technical difficulties over the last few days, and I'm quite annoyed by that. I'm going to start with that. So all month I've been talking about my Harlequin Anticipated Reads vlog, and I'm so excited. I have been filming clips as I finish these books, and yada, yada, yada. So last month I treated myself and I bought an SD card for my cell phone. So because I have a Samsung, unlike the Apple products, I can add extra storage to my phone. So I bought a 64 gig SD card. It wasn't super expensive, but I thought it would be great for video. So that way, in case I record a bunch, I don't run out of room on my phone. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of my thought process on the whole thing. So I had done that, and I have been using it, and it's been fantastic. So what I do is once I've done recording on my phone is I plug my phone generally into my laptop and then transfer the files over. So I had transferred these files, like the files that I had been slowly, and I've done this before. I've done these vlogs before. Like I did one for the last couple of months where I record throughout the month. So this isn't new. Like I knew I had to put them somewhere. I don't know what happened. I don't know who's trying to come in here. Maybe it's a cat. Probably a cat. Or trying to come in. No, it's Bernard was just leaving. Sorry. So I don't know what happened. I am blonde. Like, it comes naturally. Okay, guys? But the files are gone. I am missing... I have, like, the first 2 files. Like, the introduction that I did for that vlog. And I also have, like, the first review. But I am missing the next 3. And I don't know where they are. I've deleted everything off of my phone. Stupid me. I've deleted everything off the SD card. Stupider me. And I've looked everywhere. I may have filed them somewhere on my laptop. I don't know. I may have filed them in the, recycling bin on my laptop. I don't know. I try to be really good about deleting stuff because I don't like having clutter. I'm definitely not a clutter person when it comes to my electronics. Like, on my laptop, I actually empty my recycling bin on a weekly basis, and stuff like that. And in one aspect, it's good. And in another, it's like, okay, if you've got something there, that could potentially be gone now. So I was really annoyed at first. I realized this on Wednesday because I had finished a book and I was going to go ahead and record. And I thought next time I sit down to do this, I was going to record my thoughts on that book. And no, did I finish? No, I was going to start editing that video. That's what I was going to do, was I had some time and I was going to start editing that video. And then when I realized, I was really mad at first. Like, I had to step away. I was really mad at myself that I couldn't find those clips. So anyway, the more I thought about it, I'm not as mad as I thought I would be, because to be honest, I only finished like 4 books for that entire vlog. So, and I've kind of not been talking about them, but like I do mention them at the end of every week. Like if I finish one, I'm like, oh, by the way, my full thoughts on this. Like I like all the books that I read, I really enjoyed. So if I mention like a 5-star or 4.5 star, like clearly I liked it and I recommend that you guys pick it up. We're going to try again next month. And like, let's hope I can, I think the new thing has to be leave it on the SD card until you edit the video, kind of an idea. That's going to be my new frame of mind. That's why I bought the SD card, was so I don't take up room on my phone. If I have those files sitting on my SD card for a month, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? So at least I know I've got it there, like on my laptop as backup, but on my phone as backup as well, just in case. So that was thing number 1. So there will not be an anticipated reads vlog this month. I am sorry, you guys. Stay tuned. I'll be doing it next month. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be for books that are coming out. Originally, I was trying to do it a month ahead. Like, the books that I was reading this month are books that have an August release date. Like, they are now, as of today's date, are available on your shelves. But they are considered to be an August the 1st release date, essentially. But I think I'm going to instead, because a lot of the books that I didn't get to, I really, really want to read. So I think I'm just going to like stick it month to month. So essentially, for the month of August, I'll be reading books that were published, have a publication date in August. So that's kind of my game plan. Anyway, you guys will see that later on, blah, blah, blah. It's a thing, whatever. I'm annoyed, but it is what it is. So then technology fail number 2 was not my fault. So I was listening to on audio, good thing I had picked up a digital copy of this book. Again, I treated myself and I was originally going to read it. And then I was like, oh, wait, Hoopla has it available on audio. I'm like, great, I will listen to it on audio. So I started listening to, let me just do this so you guys can see the cover. I started listening to The Edge of Summer by Erica George on Hoopla. And it was great. It was going fine, and I'm listening away and I finished chapter 4 and then I hear the thing go chapter 2 and I'm like, what now? And I thought maybe there was an error in the, in something, right? So I go back and I realized that it had gone back to chapter 2, but it still showed I was like 15% through the book. So I skipped ahead and then it was like, it's missing chapter 5. Like the audiobook is missing chapter 5. And I don't know where else it's messed up on the Hoopla edition. I don't know if it's just on Hoopla. I'm not paying a credit or whatever to find out on Audible if it's messed up as well. Sorry, guys. I'm technically not at work yet. I am not at work yet for another half an hour, so I'm not answering the phone just yet. So anyway, so yeah, I was really annoyed at that. And thankfully it came from Hoopla, so it didn't cost me any money. And I did have this, so I've started reading it physically or digitally on my Kindle, and I'm really happy about that. Like, I've been home the last few days. I'm home working from home today, so I'm not doing any sort of commute. You know, I'd like to do some crafting and listen to some audio, but I've got another book that I can do that with. So yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed at this one, but I'm 30% of the way through The Edge of Summer, so this is now moving into a little bit of a what I've been reading. So I am reading this, blah, blah, blah. Since I'm already sitting here, I might as well share the other books that I am currently reading with you guys. And then I'll get into the book that I finished. And then I've got one other thing to share with you before I let you go. So that Harlequin anticipated reads vlog, because I decided on Wednesday, I'm like, well, clearly this vlog isn't going to work. I'm not going to bother reading any more anticipated reads right now. I will read them later on. I'll start reading them again in August. So I'm like, I had 2 books on the go, and usually I like at least 3 books on the go because I am that kind of a reader. So I looked and I'm like, oh wait, I need to read book number 8 in the Camper and Criminals Cozy Mystery series. These are short little books. So on Kindle Unlimited, I grabbed Assailants, Asphalt, and Alibis by Tonya Kappes. This is book number 8 in the Campers and Criminals. And I do have it out from my library on audio. If I choose to plug in the audiobook and listen to that at some point today, tomorrow, whatever, I should get this done today. It's like they're under 200 pages. They're very quick little reads. And then I'm also reading, I'll show you guys the cover, but it's kind of difficult. It's the top picture right there. Don't know if that's, there you go. So, because I borrowed this as a box set from the library. So I am reading For His Daughter's Sake. Sorry for the weird color change and stuff. For His Daughter's Sake by Stella Bagwell. And this is the second book in the Montana Mavericks, The Real Cowboys of Bronco Heights series. And I'm about halfway through this book now. Quickly, let me get into my book review for you guys. So I did finish a book on Wednesday. I finished reading Deadly Summer Nights by Vicki Delaney. This is the first book in the Catskills something. I can't remember the series name now. Catskill Summer Resort Mystery, I think it was what it's called. There's only 2 books in this series. I will be reading the second book in August, next month. I'll be reading the second book next month. I loved this, you guys. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was fantastic. So, it's set in the Catskills in 1953. Our main character's name is Elizabeth, and I adored her. Her and her mother own and run this resort called, what was the resort called? I want to say it was something like Hellerman's, because all I have in my head is Kellerman's from Dirty Dancing. So it's got a very similar name, but it's that kind of resort. If you've seen the movie Dirty Dancing, and you know the resort that I'm talking about that the family travels to, where they have like these dance classes, and they have like swimming lessons, and they have like this big, and it's very fancy, and people stay in these cabins, and it's these people from New York City who take their 2 or 3 week summer vacation, and they come to the Catskills, and to get away from the city and the heat, and, you know, have a beautiful lake to swim in and whatever. So Elizabeth, within like they own this is, I think, their second year owning and running this hotel or resort or whatever you want to call it. And like a little bit into the book, of course, someone ends up getting murdered, and this man ends up getting like murdered and then shoved in the lake, kind of an idea. So they're trying to find out like the whodunit. I really liked it. I loved the historical aspect of it, with it taking place in the early 1950s. There's a lot of talk about, of course, the Second World War, that the man who was murdered was actually served in World War II. And, you know, some of the other characters have. The one thing everybody except for our main character, Elizabeth, and her mother smoke. And they talk about it throughout the entire book. Everybody smokes. There's constantly smoking happening. But I guess that's just kind of the way it was back then, right? Like there's one scene where someone gets bashed over the head with a giant like old school ashtray, you know, like, so maybe like that was like the setup, was talking about everybody smoking so they could have that ashtray there. I don't know. But there's talking about communists, like there's this whole like conspiracy thing with another resort trying to undermine Elizabeth and her mother by being like, well, maybe the guy who was murdered was a communist, and that's why, because of course at that time period that was a big fear for a lot of people, right? So yeah, it was very much like, I loved the historical aspect of it. That was my favorite part. I want more historical cozy mysteries. I am a big fan of history, so this one just checked all the boxes for me. I don't think there's going to be any sort of a love triangle. It was hinted at, like there's the nephew of the guy who was murdered, who would be like, the nephew is Elizabeth's age. There's kind of a little bit, they go out on a couple dates, and it seems like the son of the owner of the other resort, again, who's Elizabeth's age, the son is, might have a crush on her as well. So I don't know if it's going to go into the territory of a love triangle, which is kind of a thing with cozy mysteries, which really bothers me, to be honest. But I'm happy it's not the cop that she's like, because that's definitely cozy mystery, 101, essentially. But yeah, I liked it. I love the characters in this. Her best friend Velvet was an absolute delight. Some of the other people who work at the resort are just charming. Her mother is a hoot. She's a former Broadway dancer, actress. She knows all these famous people. She's very much that, if you think about that 1950s kind of, former Hollywood glamour, that's her mother. And she can't even call her mother. She has to call her Olivia. She doesn't go by mom or whatever. So I loved this, you guys. If you guys are fans of cozy mysteries, you need to check this one out. It was pure delight. I think it took me less than 12 hours to finish it. I did listen to it on audio, but I mean, a good part of it I listened to on the way to and from work. But I didn't listen to it outside of that. Like, mostly it was like sitting in my bed, like cross-stitching, listening to this and just being absolutely charmed. It was fantastic. I loved it. Please do yourself a favor and read it. So the last thing I want to touch on very, very quickly is a lot of you asked in my last video about my book sleeves, because I do have some of them that I do actually use, not for books, but for my electronic devices. So I thought I would show them to you because a lot of you have asked where I got them from. They're a little dirty. I do need to wash them now that I'm looking at them real close. I can't say that these patterns are going to be available, but I want to say I'm very, very happy with these two companies. So 2 are from the same company, and then 1 is from a different company. And I'll do my best to link both of them below. They're both from Etsy. So the first one here is Bookish Bling. And this is my Golden Girls one. I actually have a cross-stitch bag in the same fabric because I love this fabric so much. And I actually also have, not a cross-stitch, a knitting bag. And I also have for knitting these little charms that you can mark your place that are each of the women. So this is a design that somebody did, and I just absolutely love it. But it is fully lined and it's padded. So this is what my, let me reach over and unplug it here because it's just charging. This is what my my Samsung tablet lives in. I use my tablet, like I said, I was using it a lot for reading off the Glow app from Harlequin, but I also use it quite a bit for cross stitch because my pattern keeper is on here, which is that piece right there. So yeah, and then the Glow app is right there. So yeah, so that's what my Samsung tablet lives in, is this one from Bookish Bling. The other one is also, the next one is from Bookish Bling as well. This is what my Kindle lives in. So this one is dirty as well. And it's just got the hearts and like the Valentine's Day Starbucks type mugs and donuts. Who doesn't love donuts? So yeah, so that is that one. Again, it is fully lined and it's padded as well. And then the last one is, I have to be honest, might be my favorite because it's sloths and I love sloths. So this is from a company called Book in a Sweater. And the little thing is coming off. I might have to glue that back down. But yeah, this one's kind of fuzzy. It's almost like the material on the outside is almost like a, like pajamas. Like, you know, like that really fuzzy. But I kind of love it. Would this not make a great pair of pajamas? I think I need that. So anyway, it's got the sloths on it. Again, fully lined. And it is padded as well. And this is what my Kobo lives in. And I mean, you can buy cases for the Kobo, you can buy cases for the Kindle, for the Samsung. My thing is, and I've said this before, is that the whole reason I love using these devices is because they're light. Like, to hold this in my hand is super light, right? Like, to sit and hold it, it's light. When you add a case to it, it now makes it heavy. So you're kind of defeating the purpose, in my opinion. I do have a pop socket. I've shown these before on the back of both of my Kobo and my Kindle, just to make it easy to hold when I'm reading. So I can just kind of do that. And it just takes even more of the weight off, like, you know, and I'll just have it sitting. and I can still use my thumb to turn the pages, which is great. So yeah, so that is, oops, let me put this back in the right. So yeah, those are my book sleeves. That's what I use them for. These are the only, I have a couple of other book sleeves that I've bought before, but these are the ones that get used the absolute most, mainly because they're my favorites and they fit the devices that I need to perfectly. And if I'm transporting them, like if I'm going somewhere, like if I have to go to the hospital or a doctor's appointment, I can easily slide this into my purse. Yes, it doesn't close up the top, so stuff could get in, but I don't just throw it in my bag upside down. You know, like I make sure to put it in my bag properly. So, you know, it's a very expensive piece, not a very expensive piece, but I mean, this is an electronic device. I'm not just going to be willy-nilly, you know, that would have been so funny if it just flown out of my hand. Willy-nilly just chucking this stuff around. You know, I'm trying to take as good care of it as I possibly can. So anyway, guys, that is it. Like I said, a longer clip. I will check back in tomorrow. I do have a shorter day at work today. I only work until 4 because it is a long weekend, so I'm very happy about that. And yeah, that is it, you guys. I'm hoping to go to maybe Michael's after work today because I need to pick up a few things of floss, like for cross stitch, and maybe I'll take you guys with me. I don't know, we'll see. I think we're going to go to Walmart to get some groceries done before the weekend because, I mean, everything's going to be open all weekend, but it might be real busy tomorrow because a lot of people are going to be doing barbecues and have gatherings and things like that. So I kind of want to get like any grocery stuff that we need to get done to get it done tonight while I'm off work early, and then can go from there. Anyway, I'm rambling, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye. Hi friends, happy Saturday. It is much later in the day on Saturday. As you can tell, I've got some weird lighting, which is why I'm sitting over here. If I was sitting right in front of my window where I normally do, there would be like lines all over the place from the sun coming in through the vertical blinds. So I know typically you can like turn them up like when you twist them, but these are old ones and they're kind of broken and they don't do that anymore. So we're sitting in the corner with all the pretty books. So here with a reading update, my friends. I have finished a book today. I finished reading For His Daughter's Sake by Stella Bagwell. This is the second book in the Montana Mavericks, The Real Cowboys of Bronco Heights series. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I didn't particularly love it. So this is the story of Tyler and, oh my gosh, is it Callie? Callie, I wanted to call her Cassie. It's Callie. So we met Callie in book number 1. She was best friends with Vanessa. And I really, really liked her as a character. And I liked her as a character in this book as well. I like Tyler as well, as a main character. So Tyler's backstory is that 6 months earlier, he was married. It was kind of a whirlwind marriage. He met this girl in the big city. And it was a lust-filled kind of a scenario where they fell into lust with each other and ended up getting married very quickly just because they could. There was no reason for them to get married quickly. They just did. So he then moves her to Montana, back to the family ranch. And she's not happy there. She's a city girl. She wanted to be in the city. And, you know, they kind of start fighting and, you know, stuff like that. And then, you know, I guess a year or so into the marriage, she gets pregnant. And then things kind of go from bad to worse. And, you know, they're fighting all the time. So, like, he's working on the ranch. It's the family ranch. And he's, like, finding reasons not to go home. To deal, because he doesn't want to deal with her. Because not only now that his daughter Maeve has been born, she has colic, so she's constantly crying. She's not a happy baby. I mean, I'm sure her parents fighting, she can feel that tension, like as a baby can feel that tension, isn't helping the situation. So Tyler's kind of staying away. His ex-wife, or his wife, is like, she's like not happy either. She, you know, so they're fighting constantly. He's like staying away from home. And then he gets home the one night and she's like, I gotta get out for a bit. I need to get away because the baby won't stop crying and all these things. So off she goes. And spoiler, not a spoiler, because you do actually kind of find this out in book number 1. She ends up dying in a car accident. So it's now 6 months since her death. He's a widow. Tyler's a widow. Obviously, he's got this 6-month-old daughter to look after, or this 9-month-old daughter now to look after. And he's trying to make up for the fact that he felt like he was a bad husband and a bad father at the beginning. Like with, I think her name was Lauren, his ex-wife. And, you know, I mean, that's like a very interesting backstory, a very, you know, could really do some great things with the plot. My issue with this book is that 6 months to me wasn't enough time. And again, this is my issue in romance, that when you have a spouse that has died, like a former spouse, obviously, that has died, most of the time, that spouse is made out to be not a bad person, but the fact that they weren't getting along. Like, there was always a reason, like, oh, just before they died, we were talking about getting a divorce, or blah, blah, blah. It was never a happy marriage. Very rarely. I mean, it's very rare. I think I've read it maybe once or twice, where the couple has been happy and the person ends up passing away for whatever reason, and of course they're heartbroken. But it's this perpetuation within romance novels that the one true love situation, where you can only have one true love, and that's not a thing, in my opinion. In real life, that's not a thing. People who've been married more than once will tell you that, because, you know, especially if you marry young, you marry for a reason, and maybe Tyler at that time did love her, or he thought he did, and, you know, in a little way he did, and, you know, that changes. That can change over. He could have loved her, and then, God forbid, something happened. You know, I just feel like death is such a big deal. Like, he's a widow, and he's now trying to raise this little girl, and then 6 months later, all of a sudden, he's starting this relationship with Callie. I just didn't buy it. It felt too quick for me. And I don't know if the author chose to do that quickly because they wanted the little girl to be young, like the baby to be young, instead of having her a bit older. I think even waiting a year would have been better. And I mean, I'm not here to judge anyone. Anyone who's had a spouse or significant other who has passed away, and if you moved on, you know, in a certain amount of time, I'm not judging that situation at all. I just feel because Tyler also had all this other baggage that was happening with the fact that him and Lauren were fighting, with the fact that he was barely around for his daughter at the very beginning, that all of a sudden now it felt like he had dealt with this first before he moved on to this. Does that make sense? So it had nothing to do with the amount of time. It's like how much time he was dealing with stuff, if that makes sense. So anyway, did not love this one. It was fine. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I didn't love it as much as I loved the first book in this series. So, yeah, so that is that. I am still reading 2 books. Both are actually on audio. I am still listening to Assailants, Asphalt, and Alibis by Tonya Kappes. I am, I think, 30% of the way through this one today, or now. I was really focusing on trying to get that ebook finished off, because I do read ebooks a bit slower than, of course, I listen to, not slower, but I tend not to pick up ebooks as much because I tend to be doing a lot of crafting, so I'm usually listening to a lot of audio. So I'm still listening to that one on audio. And I am also still listening to, I actually found another copy. I talked yesterday about the fact that Hoopla, or whatever, I was having issue with it. I had ended up returning the book, and I actually found it again. Like, I downloaded it again. So it seems to be running fine now. So I have got back The Edge of Summer by Erica George. And I want to say 45% of the way through this one. So I actually have not gotten a lot of reading done today. Family was over and things like that. So yeah. But tomorrow is the last day of the month. I do plan on, my goal is to finish those 2 audiobooks. Neither one I have a lot of time left on, so I should be able to get them done tomorrow, no problem. And I am going to be picking up another book, but I'm not sharing that book with you guys because I'm actually picking up an August book. I thought, oh, maybe I'll squeeze in one more book. I have a day left. Like, seriously, Sarah? Like, who are you? But then I'm like, I feel like I always like having a print or an ebook as well as an audiobook if that's what I feel like doing. I don't know about you guys, this is weird. I realized this the other night, Friday night actually, when I was doing some reading sprints with my friends, that I went to go eat my dinner. And when I'm having my dinner, I don't like listening to an audiobook. Like, I like having something to read while I'm eating it, like, unless I'm at a restaurant or somewhere fancy. You know, like, you're there with other people. But, like, generally, my husband and I sit at the kitchen table together. But Garrett will be, like, looking at something like, if it's hockey season, he'll be, like, looking for the hockey game. Or he'll be looking for the wrestling on his phone or whatever. Or, you know, reading a book. So I usually have a book that I'm reading. But I don't like listening to an audiobook while I'm eating. I don't know why. I think it harkens back to when I was a kid. When I always used to have a book. If I was at the table eating, I would be reading a physical book. So I think that is like a carryover now into adulthood. So that's why I always like to have a print book or an ebook on the go for meal times. Like at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner, I always sit at the table, or almost always sit at the table, and I like to have a book. So anyway, I did start another book, but I'm not sharing that with you guys. I am participating in a readathon that is happening in the month of August that I'm also not sharing with you guys. You're going to find out about it on Tuesday. So this video is going to go up on Monday. On Tuesday, I'm going to talk about that readathon. I haven't mentioned it yet. I've been waffling back and forth on whether or not I wanted to participate, and I finally decided to bite the bullet. And on Friday after work, I actually put my TBR together, and there's 14 prompts for this readathon, but I'm actually only going to do 8 of them. Because the other 4, I really couldn't find anything for within my collection or anything that interested me at all to read. So I am going to do 8 out of the 14. That's still pretty good. I'm hoping to anyway. But that video will be coming out on Tuesday. So you guys can, like, for you guys watching this right now, you'll see it tomorrow. So I don't want to mention that book just yet. I will share that in that video, and I'll mention that I'm reading it, or maybe have even finished it at that point. Who knows? So anyway, I have to actually film that video on Monday, or the day that this is going up is the day I'm going to film that video. Because, you know, whatever. Anyway, so last thing, you probably saw it in the thumbnail for this. We went to Walmart this morning, my husband and I had to buy this because it was $5. And I love flamingos. I love flamingos. Flamingos, sloths, these are my animals. So I have about a gazillion water cups, but the ones I have are a lot bigger, and I wanted a smaller one for work. I think because it actually forces me to get up and out of my chair. Like, if I get a really big water, I'm not refilling it. Like, I'm just drinking out of it, right? Whereas if I get a smaller one, then I have to get up and refill it. And the machine at work, we actually have a fridge that has an ice, like, thing in it, and then the water comes out of the fridge. Does that make sense? So that's what I like using. So I bought this. I saw it have flamingos on it. I'm like, oh, it's $5. But it came with a bonus. It actually came with a floaty. My husband blew this up for me. It was deflated, clearly, and it was inside the cup. Like, so I washed the cup, obviously. Or, yeah, I washed the cup. I haven't used it yet. I think I'm actually going to take it to work. This part of me kind of wants to take this to work as well and sit it on my desk. And, like, have this, like, be on my desk at the office. At Christmas time, I could get him a little fancy Santa hat. At Halloween, a little witch's hat, maybe. And, like, just have him hanging out on my desk. My husband's like, you should walk around the office with, like, it like this and then you'd be drinking from it. I couldn't pass it up, you guys. It's just too cute. I mean, we do have the pool. I should literally sit out there and just, like, put him in the water. But I'm like, I kind of just want to take him to work and, like, leave him in good condition. Like, don't put him in the water and just... He's just so darn cute, you guys. Like, seriously, how could you, for $5, how can you pass that up? Right? It's too adorable. So anyway, that is that, you guys. I I will check in with you tomorrow night, probably, to share with you hopefully I finish the other 2 books tomorrow. If I can, I think that puts me at 6 books for the week, so we shall see what happens. But anyway, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow. Hi guys, happy Sunday. Today is the 31st of July. Happy last day of July, everybody. Where did the month go? Where did the month go? Legit, like crazy. July, like, just started. At least that's how it feels. But anyway, it is, like I said, it's Sunday, it's the 31st, and pardon me, I've got the hiccups. I am sitting down with you because I have finished reading 3 books today, and I'm done. I'm calling it for the day. I'm calling it for the month. I finished my 26th book of the month about 20 minutes ago. And I'm going to call that a win. That is a fabulous reading month, in my opinion. But yeah, I have 3 reviews that I want to do for you guys. Then I want to, of course, do my wrap up for the entire week and share, like, everything with you guys again, like, very quickly go over it all again. And yeah, it's been a good week. It's been a good reading week. And tomorrow I'm off work because it is a long weekend here in Canada. Or it's not in Canada, in Ontario. It's a civic holiday tomorrow. So new vlog will be starting tomorrow, but I wanted to wrap this one up, start editing it so this can go up for you guys tomorrow. So let's get into the 3 books that I finished today. So the first book that I did finish today was Assailants, Asphalt, and Alibis by Tonya Kappes. Book 8 in the Campers and Criminals Cozy Mystery series. I gave this one a 3-star. Not one of my favorites in the series. In this one, there's like a treasure hunt. There's this old legend for the Daniel Boone National Park that this man, last name was Swift, had found this treasure and hidden this treasure somewhere in the park. And there's these treasure hunters that come and they are hunting out this treasure. I mean, this is a cozy mystery. So there's a murder that takes place, and then our main character, May is trying to find the whodunit. The issue is the murder didn't take place until like 60% of the way through the book. It really dealt more with the treasure hunting aspect, which was fun, don't get me wrong. But yeah, this wasn't a favorite of mine in the series, but I did enjoy listening to it on audio. These are quick, fun books. So yeah, it was enjoyable, 3 stars. The other one that I finished was The Edge of Summer by Erica George. I gave this one 3.5 stars, guys. I did not love this one as much as I wanted to. The cover on this one is stunning. The audio on this one was fantastic. The audio narrator did a brilliant job. However, this is a YA novel, but I will point out a few things. If you have someone in your household who is of that YA age and you're thinking, oh, is this a good book for them? This is definitely for an older YA audience. There is swearing in this. There is adult content in this. There is one love scene, actually. It does happen behind closed doors, but there is some, I don't want to say questionable because I'm not here to dictate anyone's personal whatever they want to do. But for a YA audience, it's not something that I would have read in a young adult book. Like when I think about a young adult book that I read outside of V.C. Andrews, let's not talk about V.C. Andrews. Like Sweet Valley High. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, I'm not here to police anybody or anything at all like that. I'm just letting you guys know that this is the situation. And the swearing and the underage drinking are really the 2 things that kind of got me. You know, I could see it like as a life lesson, and I'm sure that happened probably in the Sweet Valley books that, you know, if there was underage drinking, it was usually a life lesson that was involved in it. But in this one, it was very casual. It's like the book to me read like this was an adult situation, and they just put 17 and 18-year-olds in the places of adults. Does that make sense? So the plot of the story is about our main character named Coriander, which is a whole other thing. Her name ends up going to Cape Cod for the summer. It's the summer after her best friend died, and her best friend drowned. And her and her best friend were always into whales and all these things, and she ends up getting this like summer internship with this whale sea life type of thing. So she's spending the summer there, and she meets a boy, because of course she meets a boy while she's there. And yeah, you know, there's got to be a romance. The romance definitely was secondary. She was dealing a lot with her friend's death and stuff like that. But the thing is that Cor, short for coriander, I didn't like her, to be honest. I found her very selfish, and she just wasn't, to me, a very likable character. And the love interest, he was like Mr. Perfect. Like, he was like, bow down, he is the second coming. Like, that's how it felt to me. I mean, he was fantastic. Like, he worked all these jobs to make extra money for his family. He was a great cook. He was a great this. He was a great that. He was perfect at this. He was perfect at that. And it was like, seriously? This guy had like no flaws. Like, he was perfect. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I didn't love this one as much as I wanted to. The other thing that got me with this one is that the author presumed that the reader knows a lot about whales. I did not know a lot about whales. I did not know. I know what whales are. If you showed me a picture of a whale, I could tell you what it is. It's a whale. And but like parts of the whale and stuff like that, like there's this whole scene at the beginning of the book, or you know, this the early part in the book, where she's talking about flukes, how she's going through this like binder of flukes. I'm like, what the hell's a fluke? I had to stop reading the book to Google search. It's the tail of a whale. So there you go. In case it comes up on Jeopardy, you guys, you can answer that question. But each one is different, because if they've been in an incident or they've had something like that, that's how they identify them, which is actually very cool. Like, I didn't know that, but it's not explained to the reader. The author was expecting the reader to know this. No, not all of us are whale enthusiasts. Like, you know, it was very interesting, don't get me wrong, but, you know, it clearly wasn't explained, you know. Anyway, 3.5 stars. I did like the book. I didn't hate it. Again, for an older YA audience, that's just my opinion. Your mileage may vary. And, you know, I did not really like the main character very much, but it was fantastic on audio. If you are going to read it, I recommend it on audio, because the narrator did a great job with all of the voices and all of the characters and stuff like that. And last but not least, I had finished both those books, and it was like just after lunch, and I thought, oh, I wonder, because I was still in the mood to do some reading. I'm like, I wonder if I should start my August books early, right? And then I'm like, wait a minute, because my husband, we went yesterday to the library, and Garrett got a library card for our local library. He didn't have one, and he wanted to check out some digital books, and he was, I guess, going through the library when we were in the car, and he's like, oh, he goes, because he knows a lot of the authors that I read, he says, there's a graphic novel by Julia Quinn. I'm like, a graphic novel by Julia Quinn? And then he told me what it was. I'm like, oh yeah, like I remember hearing about this book a while ago, and I actually originally had it on pre-order, but the date got pushed back and I canceled it or whatever. So I went, and it was available at the library to borrow digitally. So I quickly borrowed it, and I read it in 40 minutes. That is Mrs. Butterworth and the Mad Baron by Julia Quinn and Violet Charles, I believe is her sister's name. So this is actually written and drawn, colored, all that, illustrated by Julia Quinn and her sister Violet. And for those of you who read the Bridgerton series, the entire series, and you read It's in His Kiss, and then later on the Smith-Smythe Quartet series, you will have already been exposed to parts of this book, or this graphic novel. So essentially, this is a story that the characters in those stories read. And I love that they did this for the readers. If you have not read Bridgerton, if you have not read Smythe-Smith, do not read this book, because it is going to, I'm going to be honest, you guys. I gave this 3.5 stars. It was stupid, it was ridiculous, and it was wonderful. Like, it was absolutely ludicrous. Like, it was ludicrous from start to finish. The drawings in it were so much fun. But again, if you have not read the Bridgerton books, or especially that one where they talk about this one quite a bit, or as I said, the Smythe-Smith Quartet, don't waste your time, because this book is going to mean nothing to you. You know, like, I know there's probably a lot of people out there right now who are like, because of the Bridgerton TV show on Netflix, who are reading all the things by Julia Quinn, which is fantastic, but read those books first and then read this one. I mean, you know what I mean? Because if not, you're probably, because I was looking at some of the ratings on Goodreads, and people are like giving it 1 and 2 stars, and they're like, well, this is, and I'm thinking, but did you read where this came from and why this is a thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't even want to go into what it was about because it was a 40-minute long, like I say 40, like from start to finish, that's how long it took me to read this graphic novel. You know, like it's about this woman named Mrs. Butterworth, who has this like horrible childhood growing up, and then she meets this guy who's like this mad crazy baron, or supposedly, and you know, that's the story. It's just, I loved it. And I think even more so with this one, it was very, very heart-touching. What's that word I'm looking for? Heartfelt. Because prior to the release of the book, Julia Quinn's younger sister, Violet, the illustrator, and she actually helped co-write the book itself, died in a car accident. She died at the hands of a drunk driver, along with Julia Quinn's father and their dog, like the dad's dog. And I guess Violet's husband was in the car as well. And 5 months after the accident, he died of his injuries. So because of a drunk driver, she lost her father, her younger sister, and her brother-in-law, and the dog, right? So there's this great note at the back of the book that just, it was the sweetest thing. She did it like in memorial for her sister, saying, you know, if it wasn't for her, this would have never come to be, and blah, 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 and talking about her sister and how amazing she was, and she had pictures of her, and it was just, it really touched my heart. I thought it was very, very sweet. I remember hearing about it when it happened a couple of years ago, and I think it was right around the start of the pandemic, because I know the book was originally supposed to be released in 2021, but they pushed it back because of what happened. So it came out, I think, in the spring of this year. So, oh, now the light's going to start getting all wonky on me. So yeah, I mean, again, if you've read The Bridgertons, if you've read Smythe Smith, pick this one up, read it, laugh, don't take it seriously at all. It's not meant to be taken seriously. And I know Julia Quinn would say that as well. It is not meant to be taken seriously. It's meant to be a joke. It's meant to be ridiculous and stupid and delightful. And that's exactly what it was. And for that reason, like when I was rating it, when I was doing my ratings and putting it all together, like I gave it 3.5 stars, but in all reality, I almost want to go from like a 3.5 to a 5, just because of it delivered exactly what it was supposed to do. Does that make sense? So anyway, yeah, I enjoyed that one quite a bit, and it was a great way to kind of end off the month. So I read 7 books this week, you guys, 7 books. I'm going to finish this off before the light completely, like, you know, takes me away. So bear with, I'm just reading a few things off my tablet. So like I said, 7 books this week, you guys. I finished When Love Dies by Francine Pascal. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It was Sweet Valley High, book number 12. I read Always Be My Duchess by Amelia Howard. I gave this book 4 stars. It was book number 1 in the Taming of the Duke series. Thank you to NetGalley and Forever Publishing for sending me an e-arc copy of this one to read and review. And I did listen to this on audio, and it was narrated by Mary Jane Wells, who did a great job. I finished Deadly Summer Nights. I think this was my only 5-star read of the month, but I loved this book. It is book number 1 in a Catskill Summer Resort mystery, cozy mystery series. It was narrated brilliantly on audio by Jennifer Van Dyke. And then I finished For His Daughter's Sake by Stella Bagwell. I gave this one 3.5 stars. Book number 2 in the Montana Mavericks, The Real Cowboys of Bronco Heights series. And then today, as I've already mentioned, I finished Assailants, Asphalt, and Alibis by Tonya Kappes. Gave it 3 stars. Book 8 in the Campers and Criminals Cozy Mystery series. On audio, narrated by the always great Joanna Parker. I meant to mention that I did start this one as an ebook, and as I was reading it as an ebook, I could hear the narrator's voice, because all of them I've listened to on audio, and I could literally hear the narrator's voice in my head as I was reading it, and I'm like, let's just switch to audio and cut out the middleman. She is so synonymous now with this series, and it's delightful. Of course, I also, as I said, I also finished reading The Edge of Summer by Erica George, another 3.5 star read. Thank you again to NetGalley and Poppy, which is the name of the publisher, and Tantor Audio, because I did have this one originally as an audio e-arc or an audio arc from NetGalley, but I didn't download it and it disappeared, so I had to actually borrow it from Scribd to listen to. Narrated on audio by Catherine Lyndhurst, who again I said did a phenomenal job narrating this one. And last but not least, The Ridiculously Crazy Miss Butterworth and the Mad Baron by Julia Quinn and Violet Charles. 3.5/5-star read. Really enjoyed that one, if you are a fan of Julia Quinn's other books. So anyway, guys, I am gaining light. I'm not losing light, but I'm gaining weird lighting. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to edit this vlog, and I will talk to you in my next vlog. Take care, and happy reading, everybody. Bye.